Hey King, thanks for clicking on the video. I'm Cody B, and welcome to the next episode of Biology of a Lolcow. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at our first non-physical feature that so many of these internet personalities that we call lolcows share, that being an inability to properly manage money. Lolcows tend to be incredibly incompetent at pretty much everything that they do, so it's really no surprise that so many of them struggle with the honestly fairly difficult concept of wealth management. Whether it's through terrible impulse control, a desire to live a lifestyle that their income can't support, an aversion to employment, or just simply an inability to maintain a secure source of income. Lolcows find themselves strapped for cash, ultimately making them a burden on often their parents or other people around them, or just the government itself through welfare and the like. We have a fairly deep roster of lolcows to get through, so let's get right into this, starting with King Cobra JFS. Money troubles is definitely one of the defining features of our boy King Cobra. The phrase, "you don't have to donate, but it's greatly appreciated," is one that you will be intimately familiar with if you've spent any time watching his content.
And if you donate to the Cash App or PayPal, I'll be sure to give you a shout out at the end of the month. It is my birthday month after all, and you don't have to donate if you don't want to, but if you do, it's greatly appreciated.
It's honestly kind of impressive just how bad he is at managing money. His bank account is oftentimes hundreds of dollars in the negative from him ordering exorbitant DoorDash orders. He will write these orders off as a necessity since he records himself eating the food for his food review / food hack videos, but he just doesn't really seem to understand that putting himself into literal debt to make the video isn't a very good way to run a content creation business. Now yes, the cost of these DoorDash orders are obviously inflated due to the fact that these services bring their own fees on top of the price of the food that you're getting, which Cobra further inflates by making his custom orders with tons of extra toppings and sauces and such whenever he orders from somewhere. But the thing that I think really gets him deep into the negative is the bank overdraft fees. Now I'm not sure what the exact fee is for his particular bank, but for my bank I believe it's $30 every time there's an overdraft. So my theory on what happens is that Cobra puts in DoorDash orders every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. These charges tend to be pending for a little while before going through, so when he has multiple of these charges go through all at once, it zeroes out his account and then he starts getting hit with the overdraft fees. Thankfully for Cobra though, he never really has to deal with the consequences of his reckless and irresponsible spending habits thanks to an army of pay pigs who will give him money every time his account goes into the negative and he fires up an e-begging stream.
Appreciate all the generosity. That's what's up. Oh, hell yeah, $1.99. Is your bank account negative right now? Only by $7.
It's honestly incredible that Cobra can get away with doing this. I mean, he's literally just sitting there, arms crossed, full on pouting like a child, and people are just throwing money at him. Even the people who are sending troll messages alongside the donation are still just rewarding him for quite literally nothing. The most egregious example of this happening, in my opinion at least, was when a fangirl named Beverly paid Cobra $500 to get his account out of the negative.
You show me $500 in my PayPal, Beverly, with a personal note with your address, and I'll do it. Hello. Where did that come from? Your balance in PayPal is $497. Oh, that's nice. I'm assuming that someone wanted a wand. I can look into doing that. I'll just take all this money and transfer it into my bank account. Beverly paid for a wand. I appreciate it. I will definitely get her a wand.
As you've seen, this was actually a dual purpose donation because she did also want Cobra to craft a wand for her, which he did do in a timely manner. Beverly only really needed to wait a few months to receive her wand and a few other random trinkets that Cobra decided to throw in the package. The craziest part to me is how Cobra reacted to this later on. He says that he was thankful, but he always has to bring up how this donation only barely got his account out of the negative by a few dollars, which to me says that he isn't actually grateful because he only got to keep a few dollars of the donation. Besides the egregious pay pigs, Cobra does also have a solid support structure from his father, who will bail Cobra out whenever he puts himself into a sticky financial situation. Like the 2 times he's been evicted from his apartments, one for smoking and spray painting his wands inside of the apartment, and the other for bringing over his ex Jessica Boyle. Her antics were the straw that broke the camel's back for the conquistadors.
Sorry, my hand touched it. I need to go find somebody. Oh my God. have mercy. What the fuck? This is not my fault. I did not do it. I did not fucking do it. God damn it. Why is this my life? This is not my fucking life. This is not my life.
So what Home Dad Clint decided to do was buy Cobra a trailer, so now he can get up to whatever shenanigans he wants to without the worry of being evicted. It really is these two things that allow Cobra to be unemployed. The last time that Cobra had a job was when he worked as a dishwasher for a local restaurant in his town of Casper, Wyoming. This gig would come to an end after he had some clashes with the head chef and he started to generate a comparable income with his wand making business. Real quick on the wand business, there was a time when Cobra was very proactive with this. He would almost always have wands available on his Etsy store for about $25 a pop. Nowadays, he has gotten very lazy with this, however, and rarely makes wands, and when he does, he charges hundreds of dollars for them, so it's really just not worth it anymore. If you were to ask Cobra why he doesn't have or won't look for a new job, he would tell you, like many other Lolcows, that this is due to his trolls, because they would get him fired from whatever job he would end up getting. We're going to cover this point now so we don't really have to reiterate it a bunch of times for each Lolcow that says this, but to an extent, they're not wrong. There's definitely a subsect of people who follow these individuals that would call and try to sabotage their employment. However, in every instance that we've seen a Lolcow lose their job, it was never really due to the trolls. In Cobra's case, back when he worked for the fast food restaurant Wendy's, a troll dubbed Fat Fuck from Kentucky, who did call the corporate office and said a bunch of negative stuff about Cobra, was credited for getting Cobra terminated. However, if you look into the Wendy's saga, you'll see that Cobra was not the best employee whatsoever, making several serious mistakes, so he was already riding the line of getting fired well before the trolls got involved. There's one last thing I want to talk about with Cobra, that being his dream to one day build and move into his clock tower dream house. It's an incredibly lofty goal that Cobra has put about zero effort into achieving over the years besides talking about it fairly regularly. Cobra is really banking on winning the lottery to make his dream house happen, even though I think if Cobra was able to manage his money with any level of competency, he would be well on his way to being able to build his dream house. I mean, he has no or very few bills to pay. He has an army of people who are willing to throw money at him for doing literally nothing. He did have a lot of success making and selling wands, and that's not even to mention any money that he makes from ad revenue on YouTube. Realistically, he would have to scale back his dream house a bit to make it a reality, even with all of that stuff, but it's kind of a shame that he will never get to achieve that dream of his because he is seemingly more interested in spending all of his money on $50+ pizzas, getting liquor, and donating to Chatterbait e-thoughts. Up next, we have good old Jason Blaha. Jason was actually the one on this list that I was most excited to speak on because he has recently gotten much more aggressive with his engagement begging here on YouTube. It starts off fairly innocently with him starting off all of his videos asking for you to please like and subscribe and give him a comment.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click a like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you are not subscribed or following, please do so. And if you would be so kind as to drop me a comment down below the video to give your thoughts or to say hi, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, let's get over to this topic.
I know this is a standard YouTube thing, but in my personal opinion, I find this wildly pathetic just in general. You may notice that I never personally say any of these engagement reminders in my videos because I find them annoying and patronizing and a genuine waste of time. I personally believe that viewers are smart enough to make the choice for themselves if they want to engage with my content beyond giving it a view. But Jason, of course, will take it further than just a friendly little reminder, like in this clip here where he was streaming and demanding likes.
So if you guys would hit like, why do we have so many people in here and 0 likes? Lacey, Grace, and AC, why aren't you guys hitting like? You're in here watching and not helping a brother out. Come on, hit that like button. That's why that kills the actual outreach for you guys to not hit like. I'm just gonna start banning everybody who doesn't click like. That should be the new rule. So yeah, so this is just creek beds. Man, there we go. Hit that like button, guys. I mean, I feel like I have to be a broken record with that to tell people if you hit the like button, it improves my outreach. So I'm just gonna say it 6 times in a row. If you hit the like button, it improves my outreach. If you hit the like button, it improves my outreach. If you hit the like button, it improves my outreach. If you hit the like button, it improves my outreach. If you hit the like button, it improves my outreach. If you hit the like button, it improves my outreach. All right, let me keep doing it. We got 1 like out of that. Hey guys, hit the like button, please. 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 Let's get about 10 more of those. Hey guys, hit the like button, please. People don't like everything. Well, they do. They watch Sprinkle Like.
I honestly have no words to describe how pathetic and low income you have to be to go on a rant like that, demanding likes. I mean, he called out specific people in his stream and asked them why they hadn't liked. It's insane. But this isn't the only thing that Jason has done that reeks of desperation for a few extra dollars. He also started up an OnlyFans a while back. I did make a video going into more detail on that, link below if you're interested. But this very sad behavior from our boy Hemingway begs the question, why is he doing all of this? Well, Jason has been struggling with income for quite some time. It's confirmed that Jason lives in Section 8 housing, which for anyone who doesn't know is basically government-assisted housing. It's actually so bad for Jason that he has resorted to being roommates with a woman who is currently being charged with game-ending her ex-boyfriend, so that's interesting. It's also widely believed that he is on food stamps, further government assistance, but hey, if you ask him, Jason is raking in a six-figure income off of YouTube and his coaching clients.
I want you to give me an honest answer, no bullshit. How much do you think I make?
Jason, it'll just be speculation. You want me to speculate?
I want you to speculate.
Okay. Let me ask you this, and I don't want you to get mad at this, but I'm just going to ask you this.
No. Answer my question. I'm hanging up. Give me a number.
Okay, if I give you a number, will you stay on for a couple more minutes? Because I have a few real concerns.
No. So, because I'm just going to shut the bullshit down. Give me a number.
Maybe 40 grand. I don't know. At the most.
Okay. I've made more than that this year already.
Do you make six figures?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now let me ask you this.
Absolutely.
If you make six figures, why do you live with a woman that's on trial for murder? Don't get mad. It's an honest question.
No, stop.
Like, why do you tell people you live alone? You used to tell people in YouTube comments that you don't have a roommate, but, I mean, you live with a murderer.
We're done. This is not an apology.
No, Jason, it is an apology.
To upload more stuff. You're just getting bullshit to upload to the internet.
No, Jason, I deleted my YouTube channel. I'm not uploading any of this. What are you talking about?
Shout out to Dwight Palmer for that call with Bloach. Very good stuff. But I think Jason's inability to answer the simple question of why he is living with a woman who has such charges if he makes so much money is very telling. Jason is a pathological liar, of course, and I think this was just a situation where his high IQ just couldn't fabricate a lie quick enough to give a satisfactory answer to Dwight. But I will say that I believe Jason makes far less than $40K a year. I'm honestly thinking it's more like $15K a year, just solely based on how desperate he is to get more money, on top of just the amount of credit card debt that he gets himself into.
Okay, here's the thing. Jen said you went 45 grand into credit card debt, though. Is that true?
I'm gonna repeat the other question. Why would I get a job?
Because you sit around posting memes all day on Facebook. That doesn't get any money, Jason. That doesn't gain any money. That's not a real...
So let's step back. You actually have no clue about my life. You have no clue about my income, how I generate my income. So you have concerns based upon literally nothing.
I think Jason not engaging with that question is just passive admittance because, I mean, if someone accused me of going $45,000 into credit card debt, I would definitely refute that. But let's also be clear about something. Going into credit card debt is not something that someone who has a lot of money does, because most of the time, if you have a lot of money, you're not going to be using credit. And if you do use credit but have a lot of money, you'll be able to pay it off before it becomes an issue. So I think it's very clear that Jason is just barely scraping by financially, but he does have one avenue of income that I want to take a bit more of a look into, that being his coaching. He fancies himself a bit of a fitness guru, even though he's never really achieved a desirable physique. But he has surprisingly had a few clients in the past that he charges, I think, $250 a month to coach, a confirmed one being a woman named Michelle.
All right, and here's my lifter Michelle demonstrating some of her ab work. As I've told you guys every week, I don't really program her ab work. I just let her pick what she wants to do. She always comes up with new creative stuff to just continually train her abs, her obliques, her core. And I just let her run with it, and see what she comes up with. And a lot of times I upload it to you guys as reels. So again, more examples of this.
Client Michelle would become a bit of an unwilling character within the Blaha-verse. It's pretty funny because it's believed that Blahino never actually charged her any money for his coaching services, mostly due to simping. Jason would actually fly out to meet up with her. Now, we don't know the full details of their meetup, but we do have this photo here that Jason took of her doing a squat, and you can tell that he's really into her because he put on his nicest pair of booty shorts for her. But alas, this coach-client meetup must not have gone well because she would drop Jason as her coach and block him on everything almost immediately after. But there are some other examples of clients that Blaha has had. It becomes very clear very quickly that Jason is a terrible coach, letting his clients use really bad form that could lead to injury all the way up to straight up bullying clients.
I'm going to take a squat of about 15, 20 pounds as far as his training maxes go, because we shouldn't be hitting those sort of reps. He has been getting a lot of DOMs, and so one of the things that I'm about to do, rather than deload him at the end of this phase before the next one, we're just going to take down his supplemental volume. I don't like excuses from people. As a coach, I don't accept those sort of excuses. I'm scared. Well, this is what I tell guys like Paul and my other lifters. Well, stop being a fucking pussy. Then you won't be scared anymore. This is an easy solution. Either you want to gain muscle or you don't. Don't make excuses. I'm scared of bulk. Well, quit being a fucking pussy. There you go. Problem solved. No, he wasn't. How do we say about a hard word? I'm going to, again, I don't like to say negative things, but I'm going to give a direct quote. And you'll understand why this is a problem. I go to work and work a part-time job so that I can afford a coach, a gym membership, and food. Outside of that, I don't see any reason to even have a job. I live with my mom for free. Why would I bother to work? So therein lay the problem. You try to help some people out and realize it's going to be an issue. That was a direct quote, almost word for word.
I just wanted to add that last clip because boy, that is rich coming from Blaha. Paul working a part-time job is way more than Blaha does. Sure, Blaha may not live with his mom, but he's just using the government as a substitute for her. The point of all this is that Jason may be able to attract very inexperienced people due to him having a little bit of a name in the fitness world because he created a novice program that got pretty popular many years ago called Ice Cream Fitness, and his channel does have over 100,000 subscribers, even though it's all but confirmed that he paid for a majority of those subs. But Jason is ultimately incapable of keeping any client long term because his methods don't actually work and he really isn't as knowledgeable as he thinks he is, so he's just left broke and grifting trying to scrape by. So you may be wondering, well, Jason seems to be quite able-bodied. I mean, he can lift all those weights, go outside and stream himself walking, so why doesn't he have a job? Well, it turns out, dear viewer, that Jason actually is medically disabled with a condition known as Meniere's disease.
And as far as what I still have, yes, I still get vertigo drop attacks. I sometimes do fall down when I'm walking. I occasionally fall down the stairs of my flat, which is fine because I've got enough muscle for padding and they're all carpeted, so it's not that bad if I end up taking a tumble down the stairs. I have about 50% hearing loss, and I have undulating hearing, so I tend to miss about every fourth word people say. So I've had to become very proficient in lip reading. I have continual tinnitus, so I have a ringing in my ears, and it's in both ears that never goes away.
Fun fact about Meniere's, it happens to be one of the most widely faked conditions to try to scam the government into getting disability pay, but I'm sure that's just a wild coincidence when it comes to Blaha. But you may further wonder, if he has a disability, how can he lift all those weights and such? Well, that's because Jason is clearly so badass and hardcore that he can just overcome the debilitating condition that he definitely suffers from.
And I have no sense of balance medically. So I'm not supposed to be able to walk in a straight line, but as long as I can see, I can do so. But if I close my eyes and I try to stand up, I'll eventually fall down. I actually medically have no sense of balance or motion at all. So I can't feel my head turning right now, other than the muscles moving.
Now, to be fair, this disease, when compared to other debilitating conditions, is fairly minor. It definitely is debilitating, I don't want to downplay it, but it does have flare-ups referred to as drop attacks, so it's not just a constant state of dizziness if you have Meniere's. But it also isn't something that you can just ignore like Jason seems to be able to do. This whole thing of not having a sense of balance or motion medically would mean that he wouldn't be able to balance at all, even with his eyes open. Essentially, a more extreme example of this line of thinking here is I'm paralyzed from the waist down, but if I can lift myself up with my arms, I can walk slowly. Just simply not how it works. But you will be happy to know that Jason doesn't actually receive disability pay as far as I'm aware at least, so he is a leech on the system, just a slightly smaller one. Cyrax is an interesting case for this topic because Cyrax has a lifetime earnings of probably less than $500 over the course of his 30 plus years of existence. Now, if you include the money that Cyrax has stolen from his grandma Sally to buy Fortnite skins and other game related stuff like that, he may scrape past the $500 mark. But if we're talking money that Chance Wilkins himself has earned or been given to him by his grandparents to buy them Christmas presents, $500 may actually be generous.
Cyrax, I'm going to tell you this too. I know what you bought Ed and Sally too. It's so sad. Ed offered to give you $20 to go and buy them gifts because you don't make any money.
No one cares.
Ed had to give you money to buy him a gift. That's how sad you are, bro.
Shut your mouth, bro. Shut that fucking hole in your face. No one fucking cares, bro.
So, yeah, so you admit you're too pathetic to even buy your own parents something for Christmas, and they have to give you money so you can buy them something for them. How sad is that? You're 32 years old, bro.
Hey, you.
What are you going to do when they're not there to hand you $20 bills anymore?
It was a blanket, by the way. Cyrax bought Ed and Sally a blanket with the $20 that they gave him. Due to Cyrax's profound lack of experience with money, he has an extremely warped view of what money is worth. An absolute classic moment in the Raxiverse was the time that Cyrax, in an attempt to prove to Marty that paying taxes was a scam, ran a few numbers to show Marty just how much money he could save if he quit paying his taxes.
And how much would you say you make in a month?
I mean, okay, let's call it $4,000.
All right, so $4,000 is 4,000. All right, and taxes usually average out to about what, $2? Like
Wait,
per
what time?
spending, like, all right, in a month, how much would you say you spend in taxes?
I'm not entirely sure. You tell me, tax man.
All right, so let's say you make about, all right, so hang on. So 28, 25 was $4,000. That equals out to about 115,400 a month. And taxes usually are about, let's see, they're usually about 163 a month. So times 160. Let's just do it this. All right, yeah, let's say 169 flat out, just to be. So in average, if you did not pay tax, if you kept every single dime that you make per month, you time this number I'm about to show you. Let's go 365. That's about your average per month right there. The larger number times 365 a year, right? Because 365 days in a year.
There are 365 days in a year.
That's how much you could be walking away with if you didn't pay taxes. If you saved up your money and did not pay taxes, that's how much you could be walking away with, dude.
That looks like it's like over $1 billion.
Exactly. You see my point now, Marty? You could be walking away with a lot more if you didn't pay your taxes.
I adore this clip. He asks Marty how much money he makes in a month, gets the answer of $4,000, and then somehow ends up with Marty making $115,400 a month, plus the whole average taxes coming out to $2. God, I wish that's all they stole from us. I will say that I agree taxation is theft, but I revoke Cyrax from being able to make this argument because he's a PDF and has never made enough money in his entire life to even qualify to be taxed. But I think that moment very clearly illustrates that Cyrax has absolutely no concept of money, which leads to him making claims through what I feel is a combination of having no experience earning money and a vast overestimation of his own skill and the value of the content that he creates. Cyrax believes that he is missing out on millions of dollars of ad revenue and music sales due to the trolls messing with him.
This person has cost me over, well over $1 million in earnings, in wages.
I don't even think I need to refute this point from the Goblin. It's so obvious that he doesn't have the ability to generate even a fraction of that kind of income from content creation. There's also the fact that a majority of the content he makes isn't even eligible for monetization due to his language and general behavior on the platform. I mean, us content creators who do actually profit off of Cyrax often need to censor him. That's not even to mention the fact that a large part of his content is quote-unquote music covers, which is a nightmare for copyright. There was a time, however, a single time, that Cyrax did actually make money and get paid from an online platform, that being Twitch.
Just a short few years ago, before all this shit started, I was actually a major streamer on Twitch. Was doing really good, making $150 a day, doing really good for myself. And then these motherfuckers decided to make it look like I was doing shit that I wasn't doing and completely ruined that for me. I lost all my sponsorships, lost all the money that I was making, everything. Now anytime I go to live stream on anywhere like Kick or Twitch or wherever, they report me and shut me down. They find me and report me every fucking time. And I'm sick of it.
The reality of this situation is that Chance got one single payment of, I believe, about $130. I'm unsure how he warped this into being $150 a day, but this is by far the most money that he has ever made at a single time. Now, I could be off on this because I think I remember hearing this a long time ago and I couldn't find anything discussing it, but I'm pretty sure that Cyrax would spend his Twitch check on a computer case, just the case, thinking he was buying a whole computer. I at the very least hope this is true and actually happened, because the idea of Cyrax being so excited for a brand new PC or to arrive just for it to be an empty computer case is hilarious. Cyrax has spent his entire life unemployed, but still, of course, uses the same argument that the trolls would get him fired from his job if he got one.
And I know people are always saying, oh, go get a regular job, ignore them. I can't do that. In good faith, I cannot ignore what's going on. This needs to fucking stop. And me getting a regular job is out of the fucking question. I can't do it. Not because I don't want to, but because I know what they would do. Because I've watched it happen to some of my closest friends many times over. They would send people to my job until I either flipped out and got arrested, or B, they would call up there until I got fucking fired, and they wouldn't stop until they made sure that happened.
I find it extra funny when Cyrax says this because he's open about the fact that he would get himself fired for flipping out and getting arrested because someone messed with him. The closest thing that Cyrax has ever had to a job was scrapping metal. I think he helped Ed for one weekend getting some cans and other stuff of the sort to scrape up a few perk bucks, but that's really it for Cyrax's work history. I honestly think that something like scrapping would be a good job for Cyrax. It keeps him away from any potential minors, and he could make just enough money to afford his own Fortnite skins, but of course this will never happen because beyond his delusions lie an extreme laziness that Cyrax will never overcome. The next goober on our list today is Nova Online. Out of all the Lolcows on this list, he is actually the youngest and has the longest work history. Nova has actually had jobs fairly consistently since he came to the attention of the internet, but the only problem is that he can never really maintain a job for any significant length of time. Nova's employment stints always seem to come to an end either through him quitting for various arbitrary reasons, or what happens most of the time, he gets fired for poor performance and breaking rules. This has led to Nova working for almost every single restaurant or supermarket in his area, and since he has left seemingly every one of these jobs on bad terms, he now struggles to find new jobs, causing him to suffer from what he calls job withdrawals.
Not even McDonald's wants to fucking hire me. Nobody wants to fucking... Don't crash out, Nova. Do not fucking crash out on your last fucking video. Fuck. That's what job withdrawal fucking does to me. I've been going a month and a half without a fucking job, and I'm fucking sick of it!
I find Nova's predicament kind of interesting. He seems to have such a drive to be employed, but he seems to also just sabotage himself at every opportunity he gets when he is employed. My theory is that he just is putting up a front. He definitely doesn't actually want a job, but if he's honest about that, it doesn't make him look very good, so he just talks it up. Plus, he definitely does want money. Not only to get his mom off of his back, but so he can also splurge out, ordering multiple entrees from restaurants for his food reviews.
Texas Roadhouse versus Black Angus Steakhouse. Which one has the better prime rib? First, Texas Roadhouse playing. Texas Roadhouse is the best of 3 major steakhouse chains. Now the challenger, Black Angus, they overcooked this.
Similarly to King Cobra, Nova is seemingly obsessed with getting food delivered to him. Obviously, I can't say this for sure, but I would wager that DoorDash has probably received the lion's share of Nova's money if you were to break it all down. Like we discussed with Cobra, I believe he justifies spending absurd amounts of money on delivery services because it's for content. Nova is technically a food reviewer, but the problem is that Nova lost his monetization on TikTok, his primary platform, a while ago, so these videos are more or less pointless for Nova to make outside of the love of the game, of course. Nova has attempted to generate money in some other ways as well, such as his paracord shop where he makes paracord bracelets.
Before I try, I want to let you know this is one of the color combos you can get on my paracord shop. If you want to place an order, go ahead and hit my email. This video was pre-filmed. The ordering process is different now. With the colors that you would like, and I'll send over my Venmo, Cash App, or one.
Now, I don't know about you, but this is an extremely odd thing for Nova to choose to produce. These paracord bracelets are not something that has a lot of value, in my opinion. I mean, I'm definitely not the target audience for these things. I feel these are targeting a much younger audience than myself, which if you know about Nova's predatory Discord escapades, it adds a bit of a sinister layer to this, in my opinion. But the ultimate result remains that Nova has made an extremely small amount of money doing this, especially after you add in the material cost. This at one point even led to Nova threatening to go the route of Jason Blaha and start up an OnlyFans.
Also, about that OnlyFans thing you gave me the idea, I'm actually seriously considering it. I'm at my last resort. TikTok removed me from the creator fund. I have no income coming in unless someone buys a paracord or a cameo. I'm quite literally f***ed. I applied at a fast food place. Not even they wanted me. No wonder I couldn't find them. They were with my mom. And these are my scissors. Fuck me sideways.
If you insist.
Metaphorically, Connor.
One day I'm gonna bench press you, bro.
266.
This OnlyFans would never come to pass, so I guess he does maintain a bit more dignity than Jason Blaha, but I also thought the dude asking how much Nova weighs because he was going to bench press him is super funny. Anyway though, the point has been shown that Nova is extremely desperate for money. I have heard that his mom, who he lives with, expects him to pay her about $900 a month as rent, which is a massive ripoff by the way, but no surprise that Nova has struggled to pay this bill to his mom. So who knows, maybe we will get a homeless arc from Nova someday, but we will just have to wait and see. Pulling the tugboat along next is Chris Chan. Like many other Lolcows, we've seen Chris go through many phases. From a financial perspective, there was the time when Bob the father was still alive and supporting the family through retirement funds. There was the era when Bob died and Chris and mother Barb were coasting on retirement funds, government assistance, e-begging, and the occasional eBay sale that Chris would reluctantly list when their situation got particularly dire. All the way up to current day, where after Chris turned Barb from mother to lover, spent a bit of time in jail for that, then got picked up by a group of wranglers who were essentially managing Chris and the Chris Chan brand. One thing has remained incredibly consistent through all of these eras, that being that Chris is awful with money. Chris has a lot of hyper focuses and really enjoys throwing money at them, even when it doesn't make any sense. There are examples of Chris owning multiple copies of various video games and even DLC packs for games that aren't owned at all. If you take a quick look at the background of the room, back before Chris went to the Slammer, you will see just mountains of toys and memorabilia and the like, which combined is thousands upon thousands of dollars spent on what is ultimately useless.
You know who I am? But I have randomly decided to make this video because I am sick of all the false accusations and rumors and slanders that have been going around on the internet against me. So I tell you for sure and for true that I am straight. I can tell you why from my lifetime stories, but I'll tell it to you in just a few short minutes.
Old Chris Chan video quality was incredibly bad, but you can still see what I mean. Now, if Cyrax is the poorest Lolcow, Chris Chan is quite possibly the richest Lolcow. It is absolutely sickening the amount of money that Chris has been able to make since getting released from jail. If you tune into one of Chris's streams, you will see a very consistent flow of donations. Now, yes, many of these are troll donations. In fact, one of my favorite screenshots of all time comes from one of Chris's streams, but even if you are making fun of Chris for being a terrible person who did a terrible thing, you are still supplying Chris with money. Streaming isn't the only avenue that Chris makes money. There is also an Etsy shop where you can get Sonichu medallions, artwork, and even driveway gravel that has been blessed by Chris. Yeah, I'm not joking. There are actually mouth breathers out there who have bought driveway gravel from Chris.
Hey everybody, Christine Chandler here, and today I'm going to be collecting a bunch of the stones from the old driveway here at the old temple for resurfacing for the Etsy store. But anyway, you're going to see my process a little bit one way or another, so enjoy the view. We will be sorting out all the trash and the dirt from the stones before bagging them. Like we did the last time. And so it is. Like the salt of the earth, the rocks and stones and gravel from this place that is holy and sacred, because I am holy and sacred. I bless all these stones personally with my energy and my flow, and it all be known that it is all divinely good. And regardless of what setbacks y'all may have online response, some of you, very few of you, I know more of you have blessings that have been enriched within you.
That is the most physical labor that Chris has ever done. You can tell it was super tough to pick up about a quarter of a pail of rocks because Chris was so winded and sweating. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Chris. Chris has never been employed whatsoever as far as I'm aware, not even like a part-time job, which just makes the fact that Chris has accomplished literally nothing of note all the more pathetic. The last Lolcow on today's list is someone who doesn't really have to worry about money all that much these days because he is probably currently drugged out of his mind in a criminal mental hospital, that being Daniel Larson. Old Danny Boy's main claim to fame back in the day before he ended up in prison then transferred to the mental ward was that he was homeless and incredibly mentally unstable. Combined with constantly posting himself online, this really was a recipe for disaster, as Daniel would end up recording or streaming himself committing a multitude of crimes, which would lead to him getting scooped up by the feds eventually when the plot armor would finally wear off. Before that happened, however, as we said, Daniel was homeless, but he was not without income. He would on occasion receive donations from viewers, but his main cash flow would be from a man who acted as a mentor to Daniel, Bob Proctor. Bob would regularly supply Daniel with a few $100s at a time, with the intent of Daniel renting a motel for a week or so and getting himself some cheap food. Daniel would of course have other plans. He would often rent extremely expensive hotel rooms that he would only be able to stay in for a night or two, along with going to restaurants like Olive Garden or Cheesecake Factory instead of going to the grocery store and stocking up on bulk cheap food items. Daniel would of course begin to blame Bob for ruining his life by not giving him enough money, since Bob never bought him an apartment. Bob being stingy would lead to Daniel being forced to commit petty crimes such as dine and dashing and trespassing as he would seek food and shelter.
What, are you just recording me for no reason?
I'm recording it for my lawyer.
Oh, your lawyer?
Yes. Because you just told me to leave and I said okay.
We've already been through this.
I have never been here before.
We've been through this too.
I have not.
You're repeating yourself.
I have not been here before.
You said that before.
Exactly. So if I haven't been here before...
I'm going to say it a few more times?
Yes, because...
I haven't been here before, I haven't been here before, I haven't been here before. That's been established.
Okay, then why are you saying that I've been here before if I haven't?
I never said you've been here before.
I have you on recording.
No, I said you've been through this before.
No, I haven't.
You've never been trespassed. You sleep in private properties all the time. No one's ever trespassed you. So when the police come, they're not gonna have a record of you. Correct?
That's correct, because I haven't.
Then just stay right there.
Okay.
That was honestly a very tame interaction compared to some of the other ones that Daniel would have when trespassing, but I chose that one because the guy knew who Daniel was. He was such a menace that almost every local business, down to a parking garage that this one took place in, was aware of Daniel and his shenanigans. But these crimes and multiple police interactions are not the things that would land Daniel in prison. No, instead it would be him threatening the feds that would finally get him locked up.
I sent a message to the feds. You don't listen to me. I will kill you too. Murder. Bomb you.
Upon being arrested, before he got sent to the mental ward, there was the phone call arc. There was one very interesting call where Daniel would put all of the blame for his actions and current situation onto Bob, the only person who ever really seemed to have good intentions for him.
Thing is, I'm to a point, my life is being destroyed by Bob at this point, and I don't think he realizes it.
Bob is destroying your life? I thought Bob was helping you.
He was helping me previously, but it's to a point that he's saying things that without enough information and talking to people behind my back, like my lawyer. And I would have been doing fine if Bob would have just, got the apartment 1 month way back last year. Because when I started going from the street to the hotel, to the street to the hotel, my fans were confused. And it's similar to the news, right? When fans are confused or the world is confused, they don't know what to believe. And right now, Bob is completely destroying that reputation.
Bob is destroying your reputation? What has he been doing?
He's, like I said, he's been paying for the hotel rooms. He's been putting money on my books. He's now to a point to where he's arguing about...
This call is from a federal prison.
Now to a point to where he's arguing about the amount that he's putting on my books and saying that, he can't do it that much more. It's to a point I was doing better financially and being able to support myself when he wasn't helping at all, when he was just a friend.
So it's Bob's fault that you're in jail too, though, right?
It's yes and no. I want to say that he's a big factor in my fan base falling apart because he was keeping me homeless at the time. And when my fans started seeing me on the street versus the hotel back and forth, I was losing fans.
So if he would have
That's a big factor in all the manipulation towards me.
So if Bob would have just stepped up to the plate and given you enough money for housing,
my fans probably would not have thought I was crazy and would have manipulated me.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that the monies Bob was giving to me, a majority of it, I was saving behind Bob's back. And as soon as Bob found out, he would stop paying me. He would stop paying for hotels, and I would be back on the street. And then I would end up losing followers again.
And it all makes sense now. It does see, you make a good argument for it all being Bob's fault. I never looked at it from
right.
That is truly the logic of a madman. Somehow Bob giving Daniel money was what made Daniel homeless. It's truly incredible. I will say that I'm a bit surprised that Daniel was saving money at all, even if it was behind Bob's back. I have a bit of a feeling that he wasn't actually doing that, and it's something that he cooked up after he got locked up. But if he was actually stashing the money away instead of using it to take care of himself, I can absolutely see why Bob would quit giving him money. Bob wanted him to use that money to take care of himself, not save it for studio time. Ultimately, Daniel really could have lived somewhat comfortably with the allowance that Bob supplied him with, but just like every other Lolcow on this list today, irresponsible spending habits were Daniel's downfall. So that's pretty much it from me. I do want to say there's at least one more Lolcow that I can think of that would fit on this list, that being Tofiachu, but I'm going to be honest, I really don't want to cover her situation due to what happened with her brother. There are many other channels covering her situation, but just know she is also very bad with money. With all that said, I really hope you enjoy the video. I hope to see you in the next one. Have a blessed day, and peace out.